Okay, forgot the light. Yeah, let's try and do this in such a way that it works this time. Okay, so we're just gonna get started right from the go. I'm gonna take this off. And we'll just move this a bit. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. The Fly dashboard right now just has a bunch of links to documentation on how to deploy different applications and deployment architectures and stuff like that. We're going to go with a handcrafted Fly toml and make a couple of adjustments to it over the course of this tutorial. So rather than following the instructions here, we're just going to make our own. So we'll come down here, make a fly.toml, and I'm going to paste in a Fly toml here, and we'll talk about a couple of these. The first and most important bit of this is the app name. This has to be globally unique, and so we're going to let Fly generate one for us. But if you want to, you can specify whatever you want to here, and just hopefully it's globally unique. The next important bit here is the build. This instructs Fly to use a builder. Yeah, that vacuum's not going to work. Dang it. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can for sure hear it. So I'm going to pause the video recording, and we're going to listen and maybe talk to my wife and just be like, hey, sorry, do I need to record at a different time? So let me use a builder. Of course, I can't hear it over the sound of the vacuum. I'm just going to go check. I think it's a handheld vacuum, so it's probably a small job. So I'm just going to go check with her. I'll be right back. Okay, so she is done vacuuming. I asked her, can I help you with the vacuuming so we can get it done? She felt bad, and I didn't want her to feel bad, but let me see if I can hear it in the background. The builder. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely in the background. So we're going to start that over. Cut that out. Whoops. Delete that. There we go. And then I just need to remember to make this terminal go away. In fact, I'll just make it go away right now. And close that up, nice and tidy. Our Fly dashboard is a little empty right now because it's just a bunch of links to docs for deploying different frameworks and Docker containers and stuff like that. We're not going to follow any of these. Instead, we're going to make our own Fly TOML and then just add bits as we need to increase in complexity for the trade-offs that we're making in things. So I'm going to create a new file in our project called fly.toml, and I'm going to paste in a pretty standard Fly TOML config here. The first thing here is the app. This is the app name, and this needs to be globally unique across the entire Fly ecosystem. And so instead of just specifying something here, I put a to-do because we're going to have Fly generate one of these for us. The next bit is this build, and this tells Fly to build this as just a regular node project. And so what this will end up being is they create their own Docker container with these build packs and deploy our app in a Docker container, but we don't have to manage the Docker file ourselves, which is kind of nice. And then we have our env. This is the part of the config that says is the environment variables that will be available in our application. Now, we wouldn't want to put anything private in here. Even if you're a private repo, it's just not safe to put anything private in your source code. You want to put those in environment variables, and we'll look at that in a little while. But the port here is 8080, and we set that because our application needs that port. It grabs that off of process env and then passes that into the listen. And then we configure that to be 8080 because that matches our internal port, which we configured to be 8080. And then the node environment, of course, this is a production environment for Node, so node env is set to production. And then database URL, this just needs to point to some file, and Prisma will create that file, run any migrations on it that need to be run, and then we should be all set to go there. And Prisma is configured to look for the database URL environment variable in our Prisma schema that we have right here. So based on that config, we should be pretty well set. Then we also have services and other things in here, and there's a lot about this Fly config, all sorts of different things you can do in here, and we certainly don't have time to cover all of that in this tutorial, so I just am covering the specific things that we're going to be working with. But if you want to dive a little deeper, you can go to Fly TOML configuration. Just look that up and you'll come to this page, and there is plenty of stuff for you to read, to your heart's content. So grab a cup of hot chocolate and snuggle down to read about Fly TOML. It's riveting. So this is all that we need for our basic Node.js application for right now, and we can add more and more stuff to this as the complexity and the needs for our application grows. Okay, great. So that is, I'm gonna stop with that. I wanted to just record all of the entire thing just as one long screen flow thing, but I'm just finding that that's not working. So we're gonna stop there. That was good, assuming that this piece works, which I'm not certain it will. So we're really hoping that it does. Okay. So now we're going to do the Fly create. And I just get this ready here. Okay. With our Fly TOML all set up here, now we can run Fly apps create, and this will allow us to generate a new app, or let me say that again. And this will allow us to choose an app name, so we can specify one or leave it blank to generate one. I'm going to just let it generate one for me. And now we have this new app created. We're going to grab that, stick it in here, and save that. So with that, that's it. We're ready to deploy this app. So we're going to say Fly deploy. And this is going to take some time. So first it reads our app config. Now it's starting to build the image because Fly hosts Docker images. And so it needs to build this image. And because of the way that our Fly TOML is configured, it's going to first create an image builder. That was the first thing that it's doing right here. And then it's going to create a build pack with the configuration that we've specified here with the packet2 build packs configuration. And so now it's just downloading a ton of stuff into actually this new app. So if we go into our dashboard, we're going to actually have two apps in here. One of them is the one that we created that is going to be the app that we actually deploy. And the other one is the Builder app, which is a free builder that Fly will just manage for us. You never need to worry about touching this. You can jump into it and look at the monitoring. You'll see a bunch of logs in here. You'll look at the metrics and see all of that. You can look at the machines and the volumes and everything, and you'll find that, like, wow, 50 gigabytes of space for this volume. But you don't have to pay for this. You don't have to worry about it. It's all managed by Fly for you, and it's just responsible for building and deploying our apps. So this is going to take a while because it has to download and install a whole bunch of stuff into that builder. But when it's finished, then it can actually build our app and deploy it. So we're going to speed this part up quite a bit so that we don't have to wait around so long. And we'll come back when this is actually starting to deploy. Okay. So if you could just speed this part up. I don't want to cut anything out, I think, but I would like to cut out time where, like, nothing is changing on the screen, just so people aren't sitting around waiting forever. This will take several minutes, so I'm not going to touch anything. We're just going to let it go, and I will take care of an email while we wait. Like I said, it does take a long time. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so now it's starting to do some node stuff. It's setting up our environment, setting some environment variables, running install, and also running our build. You'll see TypeScript right, yep, there it is, TSC right there to run our build, and adding a bunch of other things to our Docker container. So this is, yeah, this is from this point, now we have our image, and it's been pushed up to or it's being pushed up to the fly registry, and then the fly registry will pull it down from the. Let me say that again. And then it will pull it down from the fly registry so that it can be deployed in our virtual machine. And we can speed this part up too. Great, so now it's being prepared to be released. And so while this is happening, we can actually stop the process now. The release is happening. We don't have to leave this open anymore. And we can monitor the deployment. If I open a new terminal and say fly logs, now we can look at what's happening on our server. We are starting the instance, configuring the virtual machine, pulling the container image, and pretty soon it's going to be unpacking that. And yeah, here we go. So it's starting. It has applied our migrations. The server is listening. We're ready to go. And so now we can open up our app in a couple different ways. But there's one thing I wanted to show here really quick is we can also access the logs on the Fly website as well. So you go to your dashboard, you click on your app, and you go to monitoring, and now we can see the logs right here. Now, where our app is currently hosted, the URL is going to match our app name and then .fly.dev. And so, no, why did that not work? Why did it not work? What happened? Man. It applied migrations. What? You've got to be joking. Oh my goodness. One migration found. Okay. Does not exist in the current database. Oh, good grief. Why did that not work? Maybe I should just skip this part and say go straight to the Docker file. Freaking A. All right. So let's fly SSH console. And I don't know where it puts stuff. Yeah, there's no app. Workspace. Yep, here it is. Okay. I forgot to talk about the start.js too, so I gotta re-record all this. There's the DataDB. Dang it. I just really wanted to avoid the Docker file from the start, to be like, you know, it can be simple. This should work. And then I wanted to be like, but look, every time we deploy, the database goes away. So we want, what the heck happened? Okay, so we're just gonna do a quick, okay, I gotta stop this recording. We'll just leave it right there for a second. we're going to just do a quick test here. If I whoa, I didn't realize my sound was on. Okay, and then if I cd into steps 01, and then I run node or npm run start. Okay, that's fine. So we copy env example to env, and then run start. Okay, whoops. Yeah, we're gonna need to run the build. Oh, gonna need to install dependencies. Okay. And then run start. No pending migrations to apply. Okay, so that's not right. How the heck? Okay, starting this over. I'm going to try that once more. And then I cd in steps 01 npm install. Here, let's open up VS Code. Prisma does not have the thing. Why does this thing show up on the right all the time? I want it on the bottom. Okay, so then I run that, and then I run build. Okay, great. I copy env example to env. Let's run that build again. Okay, let's run install. I think I messed that up. Here, because the env should be there earlier. Let's try one more time. Okay, so here we are. This thing's on the wrong side. That's not what I wanted to do. Yep, that's all that we got. That all looks right. So then we copy env example to env, and then we run the install. Okay, and then we run the build. And then we run start. Port is 4444. Okay, and that database gets created. We go here, and it works. What the heck? Okay. Whoops. I think I wanted to keep that. Oh well. Okay, so okay. I had an idea, something I wanted to try. Oh yeah. Database URL is right. So the Prisma client, okay. Wait, really? Node command not found? Good glory. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Maybe we should just go straight to the Docker file. Gosh, dang it. Found an old receipt in my pocket. Whoops. How complicated is this Docker file after all? Can we make it simpler? Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Ugh, that's so frustrating. I just wanted it to be like really easy. Look, you just make this one file and then you can deploy. But no, we're gonna make 3 files. Docker ignore, Docker file, and the flytoml all at once. Ugh, I don't like that. Okay, so we are going to init fly. And we'll start with as simple as we can. We don't need that's interesting. Yeah, we shouldn't have anything for LightFS yet. Yeah, that comes in step 9. So we can get rid of that. And when we get started from this beginning, we can say app data. We'll add that later, or maybe not at all. You know what? I think the breadcrumbs would be useful. Forget that. Never mind. Yeah. So then our fly toml does not have the build thing. And it doesn't have the env either. It's just this. Okay. So then I think this would work it better. I'm tired of recording this over and over again. Okay. So we init with this, and then add the persisted volume. So that should include the Docker file and Docker ignore, and lose the build pack stuff. And the env just has the mounts thing, and then the Docker file puts the database in /data. That's better. Okay. And then after that, we add the health check. And that's all this is. So let's bring this over, add that, get rid of this, have that. And I believe, yeah, it also adds that in here. Yeah, okay, so that's good. And then here we're actually going to add SQLite CLI. So now we have that. I think I may have changed some other things though, so let's grab this. Where did that go? Yeah, after the envs. Okay. That's good. And then the GitHub action. I believe this is the same toml now. We don't change the toml anymore. And then we add lightfs. And so now we're going to have the lightfs stuff here. And we still don't have fly variable. We are going to have the lightfster thing. Yep. And the fly toml has enable console. Hold on a second. No, we do static here. And then multi-region. This is console, and fly adds enable console. Yep. And Dockerfile, we still don't, or do we? Yeah, we only do that when it's the transaction stuff, so still don't need that. Okay, here we go. So in the second one, we remove the build and the env. And hold on. We delete and yeah, we have untracked files and stuff. Okay, so we're gonna do this instead. So this is init app. Oh yeah, hold on. Init app should not have a fly toml. Get rid of that. Yeah, init app shouldn't have any differences. Okay. So we moved the Docker ignore. We should still have Docker ignore though. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we add a Docker file to init fly. We remove the builder pack stuff and the environment stuff. We add a Docker ignore and more Docker stuff here, and remove that from the fly toml. It's all good. Add the Docker ignore. Health check adds all of that stuff too. And then SSH here. Yeah, that mostly is just rename stuff. But then, yeah, removes the lightfs stuff we don't need at that stage. And then is just rename stuff on there. This removes the lightfs stuff. Yep. What is... Yeah. Okay, so now we're in lightfs. We remove the fly. And multi-region, we remove fly, and that's it. Yep, okay. Skip build pack. It's the worst. Okay. So let's try this once more. If I look at terminal over here, I'm supposed to be on break. I just want to get this done before kids come home from school in 40 minutes. This is not how this was supposed to go. Okay. Okay. So we're looking at the difference between init app and O2 init fly. So that adds a Docker ignore. You know what, that Docker ignore should probably include it's fine, it doesn't matter. Okay. And it's got a bunch of Docker stuff. and the fly stuff. Okay, so most of our time is going to be spent in... I'm confused by that. Okay, that makes sense. Most of our time is spent in the Docker file, which is what I was hoping to avoid. So I think what we'll do first is we'll do the Docker stuff first, and then we'll configure fly. So actually, I think we need to do this differently. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Okay. So we'll get rid of fly toml here. We'll do the Docker stuff first. And we'll add all that. So node modules is in there. I think okay. So then now we just have to worry about the Docker and the Docker file. And I guess I'll have Docker running and I'll say, go ahead and try the Docker build. Okay, yeah, so let's make sure Docker build works. Okay, cool. And that is done. I'm not seeing it in here. That's interesting. That I would expect to see it in my Docker stuff here, but whatever. We'll just let that be. Docker PS. Huh, that's weird. Docker build. Docker build with specified name. Okay. How to delete Docker image. I thought I've got the Docker desktop app up here and it is not showing the image. That is so weird. Docker RMI, Docker image remove. Okay. Okay, great. So now if I say docker build again, is it going to, yeah, no, it's all cached. Delete, docker delete cache. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, I didn't even know I had all that stuff still hanging around. Is it still running? Yeah, so what happened to the Docker desktop thing? It's not showing me any of these images, containers or volumes. Okay, I don't know how long it takes to do what it's doing, but I hope it doesn't take too long. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll have a docker build. And then docker run image by name. So you have to do the, all right, so I'm not going to give it a name. We'll just do docker build, and then we'll do docker images, and then docker run IT ID. I don't know what the I flag means, so I have to look it up. Wait, what was that name thing? Oh, for interactive processes, must use INT. Okay. We've got a friend who just showed up to the house, so we may not be able to record anymore. I don't think I need I or T. I think I'm just going to say docker run. Okay, cool. Finally, docker. Here, I'm just going to make a note. Docker system prune. That's what I'll run before trying this again. So docker build dot. It builds. Do. Okay, and then we say docker images. Great. Then we say docker run that one. Beauty. Now it shows up. Okay, great. But we need to expose the ports. I forgot about that. Docker run expose or forward ports. Yeah. So it's -p 80. Let's do uh-oh. Okay, I think we do want to run with the -i and t. What does the t do? Allocate a pseudo tty. I can't remember what a tty is. What is a tty? Okay, I don't care about the history. I just want to know. No. Glossary, no. Okay, I think I need tty. Yeah, we can just test it out. Let's see if we don't do I. We want p8080. Okay, that's interesting. Now it's colored. We open this up and boom, there we are. That works, running through the Docker container. Then we can't close it. Okay, so I think we might need, here, let's try I instead. Then we open it and it works. And then we close it and we can't close it. Okay. And I run both of them. And I'm sure it works. Yes, it does. And we can't close. Oh, that worked. All right. So both of them together. Okay. Every time I run it, it creates a new container, which is really annoying. Okay. This is not a Docker course, obviously. Add Docker step. Okay, so hopefully that's the last time I've got to do that. Okay, close that, close that, close that, close that. Okay, good. Put my phone on silent. And looking at our Fly dashboard, it just has a bunch of links to how to deploy different frameworks and things on Fly, and just takes you to documentation. It's great, but we want to use a Docker file, and we're just going to build it ourselves. The first thing that we're going to do is build it locally, and then we'll figure out how to get that Docker file deployed to Fly. Part of me is thinking maybe I don't even talk about creating the Docker file, because that's a different thing. No, for most people it's not. It's just like, I don't know Docker, I don't care. We're going to do this. It's fine. Looking at our Fly dashboard, we just have a bunch of links to Fly docs so that we know how to deploy to these various places, and feel free to read those, but we're going to deploy with Docker. We'll just build our own Docker file ourselves, and then we'll get Fly configured for it. So the first thing we're going to do is add the easy Docker ignore, which will make sure that none of these files make it into our Docker image. So pretty much we want everything that's in the git ignore. And then we also want to add a couple other things like the Docker file that we're about to create, the Docker ignore file itself, and the git directory, because we don't need all of our git history in there. So with those, we're also going to make our Docker file itself. And this one is going to be a bit of a beast. And so I'm actually going to just copy a whole Docker file for you, so you don't have to worry about it, and we will make changes as needed. So I'll kind of walk through what this Docker file does and the different pieces of it. So first off, we're using the Bullseye Slim version of Node 18. This is a very slimmed down base image for us that has Node pre-installed for us. And then we're going to use apt-get to get a couple dependencies for Prisma, specifically OpenSSL and SQLite 3. And then we're making another layer here so that we can have our deps where we get those installed, all of the dependencies, including dev dependencies. And then we'll make another layer for our production dependencies only, which basically copies everything over from the deps that we just installed, but then prunes out everything that's the dev dependencies. And this will be the dependencies we use for our running app. And then it's time to build the app. So based on our base image, we're going to make a directory called app. We'll move into that directory, and then we'll copy all the dependencies from our dev dependencies image. It's not an image. Let me say that again. From our dev dependency, from our dev dependencies layer, and we'll add in our Prisma so that the Prisma schema can be there as part of, let me try that again. And then we'll add in the Prisma directory so that when we run Prisma generate, it'll have our Prisma schema, and this will generate the Prisma client for us. And then we'll add the rest of the code to our project so that we can build everything else. And then we'll finally have our final image. It's not our final image. I don't know Docker very well. Let me say that again. And then we have our final layer where we specify some environment variables. So our database URL, we're going to put that in /app, which is where our working directory is, /data/SQLiteDB. And the database URL is used by Prisma, and it's configured right here where it's looking for our database by that environment variable. And then our port is used by our application right here. It pulls that off of the port number off of the environment variable. And we use that in our listen right here. So that's what that's for. And then our node environment, of course, we're running in a production node environment. Let me say that again. And then our node env variable will be production because we're running in a production environment. We want node to be in production mode. And so then we're going to move into the app directory and copy a bunch of stuff from our production deps. So we're only going to get the node modules from production, and then our build layer. And then from our build layer, we're going to copy the Prisma client that was generated along with the build directory that is created when we run our build. And then we'll add the rest of the files from our source project just to make sure we cover all of our bases, and then run the npm start script. Now, the npm start script, if we take a look at that runs the node start.js. And in here, we have a very important step that runs before we actually start the application, and that is to run npx prisma migrate deploy. And what this does is it tells Prisma to look through the migrations and compare those with the database that's actually running, and make sure to run all of the missing migrations that running database is missing. And so that's why we run the Prisma migrate deploy before we actually run node on the build directory where our files were built. And so that's what the npm start command does, and that's what we configure Docker to run when the image is ready and we're running in a container. So to test all of this out and make sure it's working, we're going to run docker build on the current directory, and this will run everything in our Docker file. Because this is the first time, it may take a little while. It has to install all of the apt-get dependencies. It's going to install our npm dependencies, and then it's going to, one of the layers removes the dependencies on production or on development things. And so we only have production dependencies. And then finally, that Docker image is ready to go. And so if we say Docker images, then we see we have our image ID right there. And just to test it out, let's do docker run. We need to forward along the port 8080. And then we're going to run with the flags I and T. And then we'll paste our image there. And that gets everything running. We can go to port 8080 on our local machine, and this is being passed through to our image, and we can see that our app is indeed working and running through that image. So this image is ready for us to deploy, to fly, now that we have our Docker file all created. And you can see how this could change quite a bit based on the needs of your specific application, which is why I'm not going to go too deep into Docker and Docker files in this tutorial, but hopefully this is a good starting point for you, and you can adjust it as needed for your application. Okay, that's perfect. I'm not changing a single thing. I'm excited to be done with that portion of it, at least. So we're going to save this O3 Docker file. Good night, nurse. Okay. Now I need to find O3 create. Nope, that is not what I was looking for. Documents, ScreenFlow. Okay, great. So the next step is we're actually going to, let's see. I wonder if I can just switch this. And now we're on the Docker step. And now can I remove this? But now, see, it shows that as a workspace. Open folder, Docker. Why does it show it as a workspace? That's annoying. Oh well, I don't really care that much. So now we've got our Docker file right here, and we're ready for the next step, which is O3. And the diff here is our fly config. And actually now, I think because we have the Docker file, we'll be able to do something better. We're going to try this really quick. Fly. What is this complaining about? Okay. Take that. Let's see, fly launch. Choose an app name, leave it blank. I'll leave it blank. San Jose. See, now they get to choose their own region, which is good. I'm not sure why it doesn't ask you that on Fly Create, but I'll choose the one it selects for me. Okay. There's the admin URL. So let's pop that open. And here it is. We can look at monitoring and metrics and all sorts of things. And then it wrote a fly toml. We don't want to set up a Postgres database. We don't want a Redis database. Do we want to deploy now? Maybe. That would be sweet. Yeah, heck. Let's just try. See what happens. Yeah, so then they make their builder. So that part is the same. That's what I thought. So we've got the builder. It takes a while to get going, but actually that's a lot faster. Build packet's slow. It really is. I think it's faster the second time around, but yeah, still quite slow. Oh, this is going to be sick. I won't even have to worry about the fly toml. I can like walk through it a little bit, but I can just be like, here's the docs. Okay, I've got about 20 minutes before this house gets noisy. So we'll see how far I can go. Bing. I don't know why it's saying release v2 created, but whatever. You can see that's pending. And I could also probably talk about the other commands. So you could say fly logs, and now you've got your logs over here. And then we could say fly status. It'll show the current status. So we'd say fly status watch, and it will keep us updated on the current status of things as we go. Here, and actually, let's look at the difference between, oh, actually, yeah. So the difference is allowed public ports is not specified, and HTTP checks is not specified here. That's fine. I don't care. Yeah, that's no big deal. Sweet. So yeah, now it's starting the instance, configuring a virtual machine, pulling container image, unpacking image. All right, this was a good choice. Even though I'm kind of frustrated that we have to dive into Docker so quickly, but you know, you're gonna want Docker anyway. So sweet, now it's up and running. Now, I just remembered, I keep forgetting, there is a command. That lets you open, yeah, there it is, fly open. Yeah, fly open. And boom, we're there. And it freaking works the first time. Why wasn't I recording at this point? All right, settings. See if we can get this recorded before the kids get home. Settings. Okay, cool. So then we exit this one. We exit this one. We exit this one. We clear. And there we go. And we just run fly launch, and that's it. That's all I have to do. Oh, that's going to be great. With our project Docker file all ready to go, now all we have to do is run fly launch. Oh, let me try that over. With our project Docker file all ready to go, all we have to do now is run fly launch. And this will ask us if we want to choose an app name or leave it blank to generate one. If you choose an app name, it has to be unique across all of Fly. And so feel free to try and do that. It's kind of like domain names these days. But yeah, we'll just leave it blank and let it generate one for us that is personal and unique. And now we get to choose what region. So we're all over the place. And of course, we do want to deploy to multiple regions eventually, but you got to start somewhere. So I'm going to go to the one that it defaulted for me, which is San Jose. I suppose that's the one that's closest to me. So I choose that one. And then it's going to tell me it created the app. I can go to the admin URL and I can look at the monitoring and metrics and all of that stuff, which we'll take a look at here in a moment. And it also tells me where my hostname for my app will be. So when it is deployed, that's where it's going to live. And it created a fly toml. And we can look through this. And if you're curious about the fly toml, there is a lot of documentation on it. You can say fly toml configuration. You'll land on this page eventually. And there's plenty to read. So feel free to grab yourself a hot chocolate and snuggle up with on the couch with a pillow and read through this. It's a fun read, I promise. I'm not at all being sarcastic. And then it's going to ask a couple other questions. We don't need Postgres. We don't need Redis. But I would like to deploy. Sure, let's go ahead and deploy. Now, this is going to take a little while. It's going to build an image, but it actually builds the image on its own infrastructure in its own builder. So what it does is it actually creates a builder app for us, and we can see that on our dashboard now. And so not only do we see the lingering water that it created for us for the app that we're actually going to deploy, but it also created this builder app, which is completely free. It doesn't add to any of your cost on Fly. And it also has its own monitoring, its own metrics, and it's a bit of a beast of a machine, which is pretty cool. So then we can look at our lingering water over here. We can look at the monitoring. When this app starts up, we can look at the metrics. And while we're waiting for this image to actually be built and pushed up to Fly. And while we're waiting for that, let's also open up a new terminal, and I'll show you a couple other handy commands. So one is fly logs. And this will show the logs for our app that we can see in the UI over here as well. So if you want to access it locally on your machine and maybe save it somewhere or something, it looks like our app is coming up. So that's good news. And then another one, as that's coming up, let's run fly status. And this is going to show us the current status of our application, where it's been deployed, all of that information. And often you want to have that just open and watching, so it'll keep it up to date. This is very similar to the bottom piece of this monitoring piece here. So it looks like our application has started up. We ran migrations, and the server is listening. And now that this is turned green, we know that the basic health check is passing, so it's able to take traffic. So the last command I want to show you is fly open. And this will open up our deployed app, and we can increment, we can decrement, we can increment again. Everything is working just swimmingly. And also I'll mention that you can find that same hostname link right here. It's basically just the name of your application .fly.dev is where you can find your deployed app. And then of course we could add a certificate so that we can set our own domain if we wanted to. In this case, I'm not going to bother with that, but you just follow the instructions and you can set your own domain. So in review, all that we had to do was once we had our Docker file, we ran fly launch, we followed the prompts, and we got the whole thing deployed. It worked out really nicely. And again, if it didn't work out really nicely, then you can always go to community.fly.io where you can ask any questions and explain your situation. But our app is running in production on HTTPS. We didn't have to worry about managing the servers or anything like that. We just create the Docker file and Fly does the rest. Oh boy, I did it. Hallelujah. Oh my word. Ugh. You have got to be joking me. You've got to be freaking kidding. It worked without a hitch. Ah! Half of me is thinking, I'll just ship the YouTube video. But of course, I don't want to do that. Man, that is so incredibly frustrating. Oh my goodness. Well, here we go. Let's try it again. Freak. You know, it'll be better this time. Okay. Okay, I'm going to be happy about this. I'm going to just do a quick test run. This happens sometimes, and it's so annoying. Okay, so it worked this time. Here we go. I hope it works this time. If we look at our dashboard, we just see a bunch of really great, nice looking links to documentation pages for deploying different things. Oh, no, that is the start of my last one. So now I start here. That's right. With our Docker file in place, Fly knows how to deploy Docker really well. So all we have to do is run fly launch, and it's going to ask us a couple of questions. It sees that we've got a Docker file. That's great. It's going to ask us our app name. This needs to be globally unique across all of Fly. So feel free to guess something that you think might be unique if it's more descriptive for you, or you can leave it blank and it'll generate one that's not at all descriptive, but sometimes kind of fun. So we'll go ahead and let it generate one for us. And then it's going to ask us what region we want our thing to be running in, and it automatically highlights the one that's closest to you. Of course, we want to deploy to multiple regions, but we've got to deploy to one region first. So we'll just go ahead and deploy to the one that's closest to me, which is San Jose. And then it creates the app. So if we go to this admin URL, we're going to see the app there. We'll look at that in a moment. It also tells us where our app is going to be hosted. It's basically just your app name.fly.dev. And then it wrote a config file for us. So let's take a look at that config file. Here it is. There's our app name. We've got some pretty standard Fly config stuff in here. And I'm not going to belabor all of this. If you want to learn more about the Fly config, then you can go to fly.toml and go to just Google Fly toml, and you'll find the configuration file. Or sorry, let me say that again. And you'll find the documentation page, and I promise this is just such a wonderful read. You should grab a hot chocolate and a pillow and just snuggle up as you read through all of this wonderful documentation about a TOML file. Have fun. And so with that, now it's asking us more questions. Do we want to set up Postgres? Not really. Do we want to set up Redis? Not for this. And both of those services are managed and deployed to the edge with read replicas and stuff. It's actually very cool. So if that's something you want to do, definitely give it a shot. And now it's asking us if we want to deploy. Let's go ahead and deploy. So it's going to build our image on a remote builder. So what Fly is doing now is it actually creates a special app in our account that is completely free that is going to be responsible for building our Docker images remotely. So we don't have to build them locally. We can do this really easily on GitHub Actions or whatever we want to do. So that's quite nice that it will build remotely. If we go to our dashboard now, we're going to see the new app we created as well as that builder app. And it's quite the beast of a machine with 50 gigabytes of storage, but it works perfectly. And again, it is completely free. So coming back to this, we're seeing that we're uploading our image to Fly. And then once Fly gets that image, it's going to deploy it for us. So while we're waiting for that, I want to show you a couple of things. So now that we have an app, we can say Fly logs, and it will read our Fly toml to know which app we want logs for. And it will start printing out logs as soon as our app starts getting logs. And now with another terminal, we'll say Fly status, and this will give us the status of our app currently. And since it's not deployed, we don't have any instances of it. But if we want to keep up with what's going on, we can say Fly status -- watch. And now this will just keep us up to date with what is happening. Right now, our status is deployment is running, and this will stay up to date as the deployment proceeds. And then the last thing I want to show you is Fly open. And that's going to open up to our application, which by golly, it's already deployed So we can increment, we can decrement, everything is working perfectly. If we look at the logs now, we can see that they were starting up the instance, they pulled the virtual machine, we deployed and then applied migrations and then started up the app. And as soon as our app started being able to respond to basic TCP checks, then Fly was like, okay, this must be ready to go, and it deployed. On HTTPS, we didn't have to worry about any of that. All we did was create a Docker file and then said Fly launch, and then Fly took care of the rest. And that is, to me, a really awesome experience to not have to worry about managing servers or anything like that. So that's us in production on Fly. Okay, that was another good take. Please, ScreenFlow, please. Thank goodness. Okay, I'm going to save that really quick. 04 Fly launch. Oh, good grief. I am so happy that's done. I feel like that's probably the hardest part of everything that we're going to do. The rest of this should be hopefully pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's look at that. There, that's good. So now we'll close this, close that, exit, 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 and clear. Heck, we'll exit and make a brand new one. Bum-ba-da-dum. All right. Now we're going to add a folder to the workspace. Step 3. And then we'll remove this one from the workspace. And then close those. And see. I always mix those up. 03. Clear. All right, let's look at our diff between 03 and 04. Okay, so one thing I just noticed, or I just remembered, the flytoml here has allowed public ports, but I don't do that. So I'm going to pull that up over here. I'm going to get rid of those. The other thing is that's different is HTTP checks. So we'll get rid of those too. Okay. And you know what, we'll leave the HTTP checks thing. Just hopefully I don't forget when we add the health checks that we handle that. So I will actually add this. No, let's do this. I'm supposed to be on break, but I don't have time to do breaks right now. The kids will be home in just a minute. Okay, where is my flytoml? Here we go. Okay, there we go. So that, and then we add that here, and then we add it here, and then the health check moves that down to the bottom. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's look at the diff again. The only difference is we have to create the volume. So let's make a note of how to do that. Fly vol create data size 1 region SJC. That's the region I'm in, right? SJC, yeah, okay. I wonder what happens if I don't specify a region. Oh, right. Okay. So this needs to be, I'm going to have to do this every time. Okay, and it'll ask, and we'll just say, let's put it in the same region that our app is in. So that's good. Okay, cool. Let's see, how long does a fly deploy take? So I'm going to increment it to 4, and then fly deploy. And then it releases again. And if I refresh, here, we'll just wait. And we'll just speed up that part. Yeah, I think we'll do that. All right, cool. And it's gone. Okay. Okay, here we go. Hold on a second. Oh, right. Yeah, that's the step I just finished. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. If you're following along at home and you did a redeploy, you may have noticed a problem. So I'm going to increment this 4 times, and then we're going to run another fly deploy from the directory. I don't even have to change anything. We're just going to deploy the same thing over again. This will be pretty quick because most everything is already cached. And so we're starting the deployment. The next version is getting deployed, and I'll speed this up for you. Yeah. Get the snap out of there. That was stupid. We'll just wait for that. And with that deployed, if I come over here and refresh, what? Don't you hate it when problems are... That should not work. What? What happened? That should not be possible. I literally just tested this. What is going on? I'm surprised that it's not noisy yet. They will be here in just a moment. I probably won't be able to finish this one. Yeah, they're just down the street. Wait, where are they? Oh yeah, they just got picked up. Okay, for sure this is going to start at 0. What the heck? What's going on? We don't have a persisted volume. How does that start at 0? Or how does it not start at 0? Hold on a second. Is somebody else playing around with this? This is not good. You're gonna make me have to... Don't touch it! You're messing me up! Okay, we're gonna try and redeploy it again. And our logs should show that it is getting deployed. There are no logs showing that it's getting deployed. I wonder if it's not getting deployed because it's the exact same image. So I think let's go to index.ts. Whoa, no. So we'll do this, index.ts, and we'll add console.log current count. Okay, now if we fly deploy that with a change, then maybe it'll work. Please, nobody touch it right now. Just let me record it. Okay, cool. And then I hit refresh and it's back to 0. All right, so that's what we have to do, is we have to deploy a change. Okay, so now I've got to deploy this change so that I can deploy the change. Okay, please nobody touch this, or you'll force me to have to record it later. Oh, now that's interesting. How did it get to 4? I'm going to just pretend that everything's fine. All right, people are home. We may not be able to do this, but here we go. We're going to try anyway. This is still saying it's coming up. Okay. Here we go. We're going to just try. Let's see. You may have noticed a problem with our app as you've been deploying things and whatever. We're on this page. I can increment, I can decrement. Everything's awesome. So we're at 5. If I go in here and I say I want to add a console.log the current count. All right, great. And then we do fly deploy of that. Then it actually deploys pretty quick because we've got the builder all set up. Lots of our layers in our Docker file are already cached, but it does need to push a couple of changes. And when that finally does deploy, and we can look at our logs right here to see it shuts down the old one, starts up the new one in just a moment as that gets deployed. Here it is starting an instance, configuring a virtual machine, doing all of that. And now it's running node start. Now it's ready to accept traffic and it's at 0. So what's going on here? Well, the problem is that we have not persisted the volume. So we've got our database sitting on a hard drive, and every time we deploy, that hard drive is inside of our Docker container. So we're deploying a new hard drive basically every time, and it's creating a brand new SQLite database. You'll actually notice that here it says the following migrations have been applied. Well, it shouldn't have to apply any migrations because last time we deployed, it applied migrations. So that's what's going on, is we are not persisting the volume. And this is actually pretty straightforward and simple to do with Fly. Fly has built-in support for persisted volumes that are encrypted. So we say fly vol create data size 1 gigabyte. And this is going to allow us to choose what region we want the volume in. We're going to want to select the region where our app lives. So we'll do SJC. And with that, it's going to take a moment, create the volume for us. And now the only change that we actually need to make is to go into our fly toml and specify that we have a volume that we want to mount. So we'll do that in our mounts, where we'll say source is data. That's what we called our volume right here, create data. And where we want to put it is up to us, but we're going to say destination is /data. That's where I like to put mine. And so the other thing we have to change here is our Docker file. We need to specify where our SQLite database lives, and we started out specifying that it lives under /app, which is within our app directory, which is new every time. So we want it to just be in simply /data, because that is where the mounted volume will be, and that's the persisted volume. So our SQLite database is now going to stay inside of this special hard drive that is going to live with our application between deploys. So with those changes now, we can say fly deploy, and that's going to get our new configuration deployed, both with our Docker configuration as well as our fly toml. And this should persist our database between deploys. And so we'll test that out. And you can speed this up a little bit. Do you hear the thumping? That's my son. He has very heavy feet, I guess. I'm just going to text my wife, please, could you keep the kids quiet for a moment? I'm almost done recording a video. Nathan. We'll see if she gets that. I don't know if she will. Okay, so we're cutting that out, obviously. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. Oh my goodness, they're so loud. I don't know if you can hear the thumping. Like, you might be able to pick it up if you're listening for it, but yeah, it is very loud for me. He basically bounces around the house. And there's the dog. I don't know if you can hear that. We're going to actually hold the thought. I think it's deployed. I think it's working. Just give me a second. I'm going to see if they can. Well, okay, no, we're almost done. Okay. So with that successfully deployed, let's come over here, refresh the app. We are at 0 again, because this is a new SQLite database. But now I increment it 3 times, and I'm going to get rid of this log, or change it to say current count is, and fly deploy. And we'll deploy it again and make sure that when we come back, it is still 4, just to make sure that this persisted volume actually took. And then we'll speed this part up. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. They're so loud. This is why a lot of testing JavaScript and Epic React were recorded after they went to bed. But they're older now. Somebody's going to come knock on my door in just a sec. No? Okay. It's healthy. In just like 5 more seconds, it will be done, and then we can continue. All right, with that successfully deployed, let's refresh, and boom, it's still at 4. So that totally worked, and all that we had to do was say fly vol create, and we specified what we wanted to call it. It was data, and the size, we specified 1. And now we've got a persistent volume that we can mount inside of the mounts config of our fly toml, and then reference inside of our Docker file for that database URL. So that Prisma will create the SQLite database and then reference it inside of our persisted volume. All right, that's it. Whew, we did it. Good job, us. Okay, so 0.5 persisted volumes. All right. Good stuff. So, add folder to workspace. Health check is next. So that's fun. And remove folder. Close all those. you know what? I should probably just open a brand new code instance. Because then I won't get the recently opened nonsense. The thing that I don't like is that when I open the terminal, I have to put it at the bottom every time. But it is what it is. So what is the diff between our persistence and health check? Yeah, not too much. So I'm going to go chat with the family here really quick. I may be back just for a second, or I may continue to record. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to take the kids out to do something fun. So we've got to do the health check, SQLite, CLI, GitHub Actions, LightFS, multi-region, and transactional consistency. No way could I get that done very quickly. So yeah, I definitely have to go now. So yeah, we've made some pretty good progress with what I've got so far. And we'll come back to this tomorrow. I think I may end up working where I'm going, but maybe I should just not. So I'm just taking the kids somewhere they like to play, and they normally just ignore me while I'm there. So I'm thinking maybe I'll bring my laptop, but I don't think I will. I think I'll just do other things. So because the main reason I don't want to change this setup, I want to leave it as it is so I can come back to it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. Maybe tonight. I don't know. Tonight I can't do for sure. Anyway, I may or may not live stream while I record. We'll just have to see, I guess. But yeah, man, I want to finish this. I don't want to have to move or change anything because it's just easier that way. So anyway, I may or may not be recording next time I live stream. But I hope this is kind of interesting to see how live streams like this are made. A lot of mistakes are made, for sure. And I appreciate how valuable it is for people to watch you fix those mistakes. But also, I think that it's valuable to watch the right way to do the things. So Yeah. Anyway, that's why I re-record when I make those pretty significant mistakes, because it can be really distracting. Like, wait, did he do it that way or that way? It's just better, like, here's the right way to do it, and then we'll talk about the problems that can come and whatnot. That's why I talk about the Fly community and stuff. If you run into problems, there are people who can help. Okay. Anyway, gotta go. See ya.